The house has been quiet for hours now. Evelyn went to bed at 10, same as always, and I heard our daughter's door click shut not long after. I should be sleeping too. Tomorrow is Thursday, which means the weekly claims review meeting, which means I need to be sharp, present, the version of myself that nods at the right moments and asks the right questions. But here I am instead, sitting in the dark living room with only the kitchen light bleeding in from around the corner, just enough to see the playing cards in my hands. I've been shuffling this deck for 20 minutes, maybe longer. The cards are soft at the edges, worn from years of handling. They make a satisfying whisper as they bridge between my palms, fall together, separate again. Muscle memory takes over while my mind drifts. Deal 5 cards face down. Flip them over one by one. Collect them. Shuffle again. It's not a game, not really. It's just something to do with my hands while I sit here in my work clothes, my tie loosened but still knotted at my throat like a leash I've forgotten to remove. There's a glass of whiskey on the coffee table that I poured when I first sat down. The ice has melted completely, turning the amber liquid pale and watery. I haven't touched it. I told myself I wanted a drink, but that was a lie. What I wanted was the ritual of pouring it, of having something that looked like intention, like I had sat down here with a purpose rather than simply being unable to climb the stairs to bed. My wedding ring catches the dim light as I shuffle again. 23 years this June. 23 years of this house, this couch, these routines that have worn grooves into my life so deep I can't see over the edges anymore. I pause mid-shuffle, studying the simple gold band. It's scratched and dulled from decades of wear, from dishwater and yard work and all the small accumulated touches against the world that mark a life lived. A life performed, more accurately, because that's what it's felt like for so long now. A performance where I've forgotten who the audience is supposed to be. I slip the ring off. It comes away easily, leaving a pale indent in the skin, a ghost of itself. I set it face down on the table beside the untouched whiskey, and for a moment I just stare at it, this small circle of metal that has defined the borders of my existence for so long. Without it, my hand feels both lighter and heavier, like I've removed armor I didn't realize I was wearing. The cards whisper through my fingers again, and suddenly I hear it, clear as if someone were sitting across from me in the dark. One more game. The words arrive with such force that my hands still, the deck suspended mid-shuffle. It's his voice, of course. It's always his voice when I'm alone like this, when the careful architecture of my days falls away and I'm left with nothing but memory and regret. Julian said those words to me 30 years ago, the last time I saw him. We were in his cramped studio apartment near campus, playing cards at his kitchen table like we had 100 times before. Except that night we both knew everything was ending. I had already taken the job, already proposed to Evelyn, already chosen the life that was expected of me. He dealt the cards with steady hands while mine shook. When I stood to leave, when I was already at the door with my hand on the knob, he called out, "One more game." Not a question, not quite a plea. Just those 3 words hanging in the air between us like a bridge I could have crossed back over. I didn't turn around. I walked out, down 3 flights of stairs, into the rest of my life. But those words followed me. They follow me still. I whisper them now, alone in my dark living room. One more game. The sound barely disturbs the silence, but saying them aloud makes something shift in my chest, like a lock turning, like a door opening onto a room I sealed off decades ago. My hands resume their shuffling, but now each movement feels weighted with significance, like I'm not just handling cards but sorting through all the choices that brought me to this moment, sitting in the dark, unable to sleep beside a woman who loves a version of me that has never fully existed. The kitchen light flickers, probably needs replacing, another item for the endless list of household maintenance. And for just a second, in that stuttering illumination, I could swear I see him sitting across from me. Young Julian with his unruly hair and that crooked smile, dealing cards with the confidence of someone who knew exactly who he was, who never needed to pretend otherwise. The vision lasts only as long as the flicker, and then I'm alone again with my ghost words and worn cards and the terrible certainty that something is about to change, that the life I've built with such careful precision is about to crack open. I set the deck down, my hands finally still. Tomorrow I'll go to my meeting, kiss Evelyn goodbye, perform all my usual roles. But tonight, something has shifted. A memory I thought I had buried has risen to the surface, and with it comes a question I've spent 30 years avoiding. What if I had stayed for one more game? The whiskey sits untouched. The ring lies face down. And somewhere in the distance, I swear I can still hear the echo of his voice, patient and persistent, waiting for an answer I'm only now beginning to understand I owe. I wake the next morning with my neck stiff from sleeping on the couch. The playing cards are scattered across the coffee table, the whiskey glass still full, my wedding ring exactly where I left it. Evelyn doesn't mention finding me downstairs when she comes through the kitchen, already dressed for her shift at the hospital. She pours coffee, checks her phone, reminds me that Sarah has debate practice after school. All the mechanical exchanges of a marriage running on autopilot. I slip the ring back on before she notices, though I'm not sure she would even if I didn't. This is my life at 48. A colonial in Westchester with 4 bedrooms we don't need any more since David left for college. A wife who manages the cardiac unit with the same efficiency she manages our home. 2 children who inherited her pragmatism and my silence, though they wear both more gracefully than I ever have. Every surface of our house gleams with the particular order Evelyn requires, everything in its designated place, including me. At work, I settle into my cubicle at Harrington Insurance Group, where I've spent the last 20 years climbing from claims adjuster to senior analyst to department manager. My office walls display the appropriate props. Family photo from last year's vacation to Maine, my diplomas, a motivational poster about teamwork that someone gave me as a joke, but I never took down. My colleagues think they know me. Nathaniel Cooper, reliable, thorough, never misses a deadline. Good for the annual charity golf tournament. They don't know that I spend most meetings calculating how many more years until I can retire, how many more performance reviews I'll have to smile through, how many more times I'll have to pretend to care about quarterly projections. The truth is I'm good at this life because I've been pretending for so long that the performance has become second nature. I know exactly when to laugh at Jim's terrible jokes, when to compliment Margaret on her new haircut, when to express concern about market volatility. I've mastered the art of being present without actually being there, of engaging without revealing anything real about myself. Evenings follow a script written so long ago, I can't remember who authored it. Dinner at 6:30, usually something Evelyn prepped on Sunday and reheated. Conversation that schemes the surface. How was your day? Fine. How was yours? Fine. Did you call the plumber about the upstairs bathroom? I'll do it tomorrow. Sarah talks about college applications, her voice bright with possibility. I offer advice about safety schools and financial aid, playing the role of concerned father while inside I want to tell her to run, to choose anything other than the safe path, to be brave in all the ways I never was. After dinner, Evelyn reads medical journals in the living room while I pretend to watch the news. Sometimes she'll look up and find me staring at nothing, and she'll ask if I'm all right. I always say yes, just tired, long day at work. She accepts this because what else would it be? We've been married 23 years. We have our routines, our mutual fund, our plans for retirement. What else could I possibly want? But there are moments when the facade cracks. When I'm driving home and take the long way without thinking, past neighborhoods that remind me of that college town where Julian and I would walk for hours, talking about books and films and the lives we were going to live. When I catch sight of 2 men holding hands on the street and have to look away, not from disgust, but from a longing so acute it takes my breath away. When I'm sorting through old boxes in the basement and find a photograph tucked between tax returns from 1994, Julian and me at a party, his arms slung around my shoulders, both of us laughing at something beyond the frame. I kept it. I don't know why, or I do know why, but admitting it would mean acknowledging that this life I've built is actually a kind of prison, and I am both the guard and the inmate. The Saturday routine is perhaps the most suffocating. Lawn mowed by 9, edges trimmed with military precision. Wave to BoyNextDoor, exchange weather observations and sports commentary. Grocery run with Evelyn. pushing the cart while she checks items off her list with the same methodical attention she brings to everything. Home improvement store for whatever project she's deemed necessary this week. Then dinner with her sister and brother-in-law, where I drink exactly 2 beers and discuss property taxes and the new shopping center being built downtown. This is what I chose. This is what I thought I was supposed to want. A good job, a stable marriage, children who will go to good colleges and have good jobs and stable marriages of their own. The American dream, or at least the version of it that gets approved by parents and praised at reunions. And maybe it would be enough if I could forget that I once knew what it felt like to be entirely myself with another person, to laugh without calculation, to touch without apology, to exist without constantly monitoring and adjusting my performance. But I can't forget. Julian lives in every space between what I am and what I pretend to be. He's in the songs I quickly change when they come on the radio, in the books I don't let myself reread, in the playing cards I can't bring myself to throw away, even though Evelyn has asked more than once why I keep that old deck when we have newer ones. He's in the words that echo through my mind in the quiet hours. One more game. One more game. One more game. This morning, like every morning, I shower, shave, select a tie that suggests competence without ambition. I kiss Evelyn goodbye, a brief press of lips that conveys nothing. I drive to work listening to NPR, nodding along to news I'll forget by lunch. I park in my assigned spot, badge in at 8:47, pour coffee that tastes like burnt water. I sit at my desk and open spreadsheets that blur together into an endless grid of numbers that mean nothing and everything, that represent security and suffocation in equal measure. This is my life. Or rather, this is the life I've constructed around the hollow space where my life should be. And it would continue this way indefinitely, this careful performance, this elaborate deception, if not for what happens 3 weeks later at the grocery store, when I'm reaching for a bottle of wine and hear a laugh that stops me cold, that cracks through 23 years of careful construction like a hammer through glass. It's a Thursday evening in March, unseasonably warm, the kind of day that makes you think winter might finally be over. Evelyn texted asking me to pick up wine for her book club tomorrow night. Something red, she said, not too expensive. The grocery store is crowded with the after-work rush, fluorescent lights harsh against the gathering dusk outside. I'm standing in the wine aisle, reading labels without really seeing them, when I hear it. That laugh, low and genuine, with a particular catch at the end that used to make my chest tighten. I haven't heard it in 28 years, but my body recognizes it instantly. My hand freezes on a bottle of Malbec. Every muscle in my body tenses like I'm about to be struck. I turn slowly, and there he is, Julian, standing 15 feet away, examining a bottle of Pinot Noir, gray threading through hair that was once completely black, lines around his eyes that weren't there before, but unmistakably him. The same angular face, the same way of holding his shoulders, the same unconscious habit of tilting his head when he's concentrating. He's wearing a wool coat I don't recognize, glasses he didn't need before, but underneath these surface changes, he's devastatingly familiar. He must sense my stare because he looks up. Our eyes meet across the distance of wine bottles and decades. His face cycles through recognition, shock, something that might be joy or pain or both. The bottle in his hand trembles slightly. Neither of us moves. The store continues around us, shopping carts rattling, a child crying somewhere, the muzak playing an instrumental version of a song I can't quite place. But between us, time has stopped or reversed or folded in on itself. He says my name, not a question, just Nathaniel, like he's testing whether the word still fits in his mouth. I manage to say Julian, and it comes out rougher than I intended, scraped raw from years of not being spoken aloud. We move toward each other slowly, like we're underwater, until we're standing in the middle of the aisle. Up close, I can see all the ways time has marked him. The crow's feet, the slight softening of his jawline, a small scar near his temple that wasn't there before. But his eyes are exactly the same, that particular shade of brown that goes golden in certain light, looking at me with an intensity that makes me want to run and never leave simultaneously. We attempt normal conversation. He lives in the city now, moved back 5 years ago to take care of his mother. She passed last year. I offer condolences. He asks about me, and I give him the resume version. Wife, 2 kids, insurance, suburbs. Each fact feels like a stone in my mouth. He nods like this is what he expected, but something flickers across his face with each revelation, too quick to decipher. The conversation stalls. We're standing too close for strangers, too far apart for what we used to be. Someone needs to get past us to reach the Chardonnay, and we step aside in awkward tandem. The spell breaks slightly, enough for us to remember we're in a grocery store, that this is real, that we're different people now with different lives. I should say it was good to see you and walk away. That would be the safe thing, the smart thing, the thing the Nathaniel who has existed for the last 28 years would do. But Julian looks at me with those eyes that still see too much, and he says quietly, almost playfully, but with an undercurrent of something deeper, we should catch up. One more game. The words hit me like a physical force. One more game. The same words from that last night, delivered with the same half-smile, like no time has passed at all. My heart is pounding, so hard I'm sure everyone in the store can hear it. I know I should say no. I know I should protect the life I've built, maintain the boundaries I've spent decades reinforcing. Instead, I hear myself saying yes. He pulls out his phone, a moment of modern reality intruding on this collision of past and present. I don't have my phone with me, left it in the car, so I grab a pen from the courtesy desk and write my number on the back of his receipt. My handwriting is shaky, barely legible. He folds it carefully and puts it in his coat pocket, a gesture so tender it makes my throat close. He says he'll call. I nod, not trusting my voice. He turns to leave, then pauses, looks back. You look good, Nathaniel, he says. Then he's gone, disappearing around the end of the aisle, leaving me standing there holding a bottle of wine I don't remember selecting, my whole body vibrating like a struck tuning fork. I somehow make it through checkout, drive home on autopilot. Evelyn is in the kitchen when I arrive, asks if I got the wine. I hand her the bottle, can't remember what I bought, don't care. She asks if I'm feeling all right, says I look pale. I blame it on something I ate at lunch, escape upstairs to shower, stand underwater as hot as I can bear it, trying to wash away the feeling of being seen, really seen, for the first time in decades. That night, lying beside Evelyn in our king-size bed with its hospital corners and decorative pillows, she removes each night and replaces each morning. I stare at the ceiling and replay every second of those 10 minutes in the grocery store. The way Julian's face changed when he saw me. The exact tone of his voice when he said my name. The weight of the question in one more game. Evelyn sleeps peacefully beside me, her breathing regulated and even, unaware that the carefully constructed world she lives in has just developed a massive crack. I think about the receipt in Julian's pocket with my number on it. Will he call? Part of me hopes he won't, that this moment will remain suspended, perfect and untouched, a brief glimpse of what could have been. But a larger part, a part one thought I had successfully buried, desperately needs him to call, needs to know what comes after one more game. I don't sleep. I lie there in the dark, feeling like I'm standing at the edge of a cliff I thought I had walked away from years ago, only to discover I've been standing there all along, frozen in place, waiting for someone to either pull me back or push me over. And now Julian has returned, extending his hand, and I don't know whether he's offering salvation or destruction. Maybe they're the same thing. The bedside clock ticks toward morning. Evelyn shifts in her sleep, moves closer, her hand finding mine automatically. I let her take it, but my wedding ring feels like it's burning, like it knows I've just committed a betrayal simply by saying yes, simply by writing those 10 digits on a piece of paper, simply by allowing myself to remember what it felt like to be known. He calls 3 days later, on a Sunday afternoon while Evelyn is at her sister's and Sarah is at a friend's house. I'm in the garage, pretending to organize tools I never use, when my phone rings. Unknown number. I answer without thinking, and then his voice is in my ear, careful and warm. Is this a good time? He asks. I tell him yes, even though no time would ever be good for this. No time would ever be safe. We meet for coffee the following Tuesday. I tell Evelyn I have a client dinner, the lie sliding out so easily it frightens me. Julian suggests a place in the city, far enough from my usual orbit that I won't run into anyone I know. He's already there when I arrive, sitting by the window, reading a book I don't recognize. When he sees me, he smiles, and 30 years collapse into nothing. We talk carefully at first, circling around the edges of things. He tells me about his job teaching high school history, how he loves it despite the bureaucracy and budget cuts. He still has that way of making everything sound like an adventure, even grading papers, even faculty meetings. I tell him about insurance, trying to make it sound less soul-crushing than it is, but he sees through it. He always could read me like that. After an hour, he laughs and says this is ridiculous. We're talking like strangers when we know each other's deepest secrets. Remember the basement of Morrison Hall? He says, and suddenly we're back there, sophomore year, playing cards until 3 in the morning, living on vending machine coffee, and the kind of deep conversations you can only have when you're 20 and believe everything matters desperately. He remembers everything. The night I got drunk and told him about my father's disappointment, how nothing I did was ever enough. The time we drove to Boston on a whim because he wanted to show me a bookstore he'd read about. The afternoon we spent lying on the quad, pretending to study but really just talking about the lives we were going to have, the places we were going to go, never once imagining we wouldn't go there together. You broke my heart, he says simply, without accusation, just stating a fact. I know, I tell him. Mine too. Coffee becomes a regular thing. Then drinks after work. I become an expert in small deceptions, in client dinners that don't exist, in traffic that makes me 2 hours late. Each lie corrodes something inside me, but I can't stop. Being with Julian is like breathing after years of holding my breath. He still laughs at the same things, still gets passionate about historical injustices, still has that habit of touching my arm when he's making a point. Except now each touch burns through my sleeve, leaves marks I'm sure everyone can see. He tells me about his life, the one he built after I left. He had a relationship that lasted 8 years, ended 5 years ago. They're still friends. He travels during school breaks, has been to 14 countries, sends me photos from his phone of places I always said I wanted to see. He came out to his parents 15 years ago. His father didn't speak to him for 2 years, but they're okay now. He makes it sound simple, but I can't hear the pain underneath, the courage it took that I never found. Meanwhile, I've been nowhere, done nothing except accumulate the expected milestones. House, cars, retirement fund, college savings. I've built a fortress of normalcy so impenetrable that sometimes I forget there's a person trapped inside it. But with Julian, I remember. I remember who I was before I decided who I was supposed to be. Our conversations stretch longer each time. 1 beer becomes 3. Coffee becomes dinner. We fall back into our old rhythm, finishing each other's sentences, laughing at references no one else would understand. He still remembers my middle name, my mother's birthday, the scar on my palm from when I tried to cook him dinner junior year and nearly burned down his apartment. This is dangerous, we both know it, but we keep meeting anyway, drawn by a gravity stronger than common sense. Evelyn notices something. Not the specifics, but the change. You seem distracted lately, she says one morning. You forgot the mortgage payment. You never forget things like that. I apologize, blame work stress, promise to be more careful. But I am distracted. I find myself checking my phone constantly, waiting for Julian's texts. I catch myself smiling at nothing. I have more energy than I've had in years, but also a constant low-level terror that I'm about to destroy everything. Sarah asks why I'm wearing cologne on a Saturday. I tell her I'm not, but I am. I bought it last week, something Julian mentioned smelling in a store, liked how it reminded him of a trip to Morocco. I'm pathetic, acting like a teenager, but I can't help myself. I want to be someone Julian would choose now, not just someone he chose then. We never talk about what we're doing, what this is becoming. We're just old friends catching up, except old friends don't look at each other the way we do. Old friends don't sit in cars for an extra 20 minutes after dinner, not wanting to separate. Old friends don't text each other at midnight just to say goodnight. We're dancing around something inevitable, both of us knowing where this leads, but neither willing to be the first to acknowledge it. One evening, after too much wine, Julian tells me he thought about me every time he started something new with someone. He'd wonder if I was happy, if I ever regretted leaving, if I remembered him at all. I want to tell him that I thought about him every day, that his absence has been a constant ache I learned to live with but never heal. Instead, I say I have to go. Evelyn will be wondering where I am. He nods, understanding more than I've said. As I stand to leave, he touches my hand, just for a second. Be careful driving, he says, but his eyes say something else entirely. They say be careful with yourself. They say be careful with us. They say I'm here when you're ready to stop being careful. I drive home through dark streets, my hand burning where he touched it, knowing I'm approaching a point of no return. Each meeting makes the next one necessary. Each conversation makes silence impossible. I'm falling back in love with him, or maybe I'm just finally admitting I never stopped. Either way, I'm losing control of the situation, and part of me doesn't want to find it again. At home, Evelyn is already in bed, reading. She looks up when I come in, asks how the client dinner went. Fine, I say, already hating myself. She returns to her book, and I stand there in the doorway, looking at this woman I've shared a life with for over 2 decades, wondering how I became someone capable of such deception. But then my phone buzzes. Julian, texting to make sure I got home safe. And despite everything, despite the guilt and fear and impossibility of it all, I smile. It happens on a Friday night in May. Evelyn is at a medical conference in Chicago. Sarah is at a sleepover. The house is empty, but I can't stand being there alone with all that space, all that silence, so I text Julian. He invites me over. Just to talk, he says. We both know that's not true anymore. His apartment is in the West Village, 3rd floor of a brownstone, small but warm in a way my house has never been. Books everywhere, plants on the windowsills. Art that actually means something to him rather than just matching the furniture. It smells like the candle he's burning, something with sandalwood, and underneath that, like him, a scent I'd forgotten I knew but that my body remembers perfectly. We drink whiskey, the good stuff he saves for occasions, though neither of us acknowledges what occasion this might be. We sit at his kitchen table, the same scarred wooden table from his old apartment, the one we played 1,000 games of cards on. He's shuffling a deck absently while we talk, muscle memory, the same way I do when I'm nervous. The lamplight catches the silver in his hair, the fine lines around his eyes, making him more beautiful somehow than he was at 20. We're 3 drinks in when the conversation shifts. We've been talking about safe things, books and movies and his students, but suddenly he's looking at me with those eyes that see too much, and he sets down the cards. His hands are still on the table, and I can't stop staring at them, remembering how they used to move when he talked, when he touched me, when we were young and brave and stupid. You never let me win, he says quietly. Not then. Not now. The words hang between us. I know he's not talking about cards. He's talking about how I always held something back, even when we were together. How I never fully surrendered to what we were, always kept one foot out the door, always maintained an escape route. How even now, after weeks of these meetings, I still won't say what we both know is happening. He reaches across the table, covers my hand with his. His palm is warm, familiar, and I stop breathing. This is the moment I should pull away, stand up, leave. This is where Nathaniel Cooper, husband and father, protector of his carefully built life, makes his excuses and goes home. But I don't move. I can't, or won't. The distinction doesn't matter anymore. I turn my hand over, lace our fingers together. Such a simple gesture, but it feels like stepping off a cliff. Julian's breath catches. We sit there, holding hands across his kitchen table like we're 20 again, like the last 30 years never happened, like we're still those boys who thought love could be enough. I never wanted to leave, I whisper. The words come from somewhere deep, somewhere I've kept locked for so long I'd forgotten it existed. They're the truest thing I've said in decades. Julian stands, doesn't let go of my hand, walks around the table until he's beside me. I look up at him, and his face is so open, so vulnerable, years of careful distance erased. He touches my face with his free hand, thumb tracing my cheekbone, and I lean into it without thinking, starved for this specific touch from this specific person. The kiss is tentative at first, a question more than a statement. Am I reading this right? Is this okay? Are we really doing this? Then I'm standing, pulling him closer, and the kiss becomes an answer. Yes, yes, yes. It's nothing like kissing Evelyn, dutiful and distant. This is recognition, homecoming, the piece of myself I cut away, clicking back into place. We break apart, both breathing hard. Julian's hands are shaking. Mine too. We're middle-aged men in his kitchen, not college kids who can pretend this doesn't change everything. But I can't stop. I kiss him again, harder this time, decades of longing compressed into this moment. He makes a sound, half sob, half laugh, and I realize he's crying. So am I. We end up on his couch, not doing anything more than holding each other, relearning the geography of each other's bodies through clothes. He's thinner than he was. I can feel his ribs, but he still fits against me the same way. I tell him things I've never said aloud. How empty my marriage has been. How I sometimes drive past places we used to go just to feel something. How I've been slowly dying in my suburban life. Each day a little less of myself, until I wasn't sure there was anything left. He tells me he tried to hate me, tried to forget, dated men who looked nothing like me, lived in different cities, built a whole life designed to not remind him of us. But I was always there, he says, the ghost at every dinner party, the shadow in every relationship. You were my first love, he says. My only love, really. The others were just attempts to prove you wrong. We stay on that couch for hours, talking and not talking, existing in this bubble outside of time where my real life can't reach. His head on my shoulder, my arm around him, the television on but muted, city lights through the window, the sound of traffic below. It's so domestic, so normal, so much what I wanted once and convinced myself I couldn't have. I know I should feel guilty. I'm betraying Evelyn, destroying my family, throwing away everything I've built. But all I feel is relief. Like I've been holding my breath for 30 years and finally, I can exhale. The man I've been pretending to be, that responsible, respectable, heterosexual patriarch, feels like a costume I can finally take off. When I eventually have to leave, it's past midnight. Julian walks me to the door, and we stand there, neither wanting to be the first to step back. This changes everything, he says. I know, I tell him. Are you ready for that? He asks. I don't know how to answer. I'm not ready. I'll never be ready. But I also can't go back to pretending this doesn't exist, that he doesn't exist, that the real me doesn't exist. I kiss him goodbye, a promise more than a farewell. Walking down his stairs, out into the warm spring night, I feel simultaneously destroyed and reborn. Everything I've built is crumbling, but underneath the rubble, something authentic is finally breathing. I've been both prisoner and jailer in my own life, I realize. But tonight, for the first time in 3 decades, I've unlocked the door. The drive home is surreal. My lips still taste like him. My body still carries the imprint of his weight against me. I know I should be planning how to hide this, how to return to my life, how to pretend tonight didn't happen. Instead, all I can think is that I'm 48 years old, and I've just remembered what it feels like to be alive. It unravels on a Sunday morning 3 weeks later. I'm in the shower when I hear Evelyn calling my name, sharp and wrong. I turn off the water, grab a towel, and find her in our bedroom holding my phone. Her face is pale, composed in that way that means she's holding herself together through sheer will. The screen is still lit. I can see the text notification, one more game tonight. Who is he? She asks. Not who is this, not what does this mean. She knows. Somehow, she already knows. I stand there, dripping water on the carpet she picked out last year, unable to form words. 23 years of marriage, and I've never seen this expression on her face. Not anger, not yet. Something worse. Recognition. Like puzzle pieces she didn't know existed have suddenly clicked into place. She sits down on the bed, still holding my phone, and waits. She's always been better at silence than me, using it like a surgical tool. I want to lie, to deflect, to create some story that explains this away. But I'm so tired of lying, exhausted by it, and looking at her sitting there, This woman who has shared my bed and raised my children and never really known me at all. I realize I owe her at least this much truth. His name is Julian, I say. We knew each other in college. She nods slowly, processing. How long has this been going on? I could pretend she means the recent meetings, the last 2 months of deception. But we're past that kind of dishonesty. Always, I tell her. It's always been going on, even when it wasn't. She looks up at me then, and I see the full weight of understanding hit her. All those years, all those moments when I was distant, distracted, when she asked if something was wrong, and I said no. All those times she must have wondered if it was her, if she wasn't enough somehow. The cruelty of it takes my breath away. You've been in love with someone else our entire marriage, she says. Not a question. Yes. A man. Yes. She stands, walks to the window, looks out at our backyard with its professional landscaping and the hammock no one uses anymore. When she turns back, there are tears on her face, but her voice is steady. I'm not crying about him, she says. I'm crying about the lie. 23 years, Nathaniel. 23 years of my life spent loving someone who was performing love back. Do you understand what you've stolen from me? I do understand. I've stolen her chance at being truly loved. I've made her an unwitting accomplice in my deception. I've turned our entire life into a fraud, and she didn't even know she was living it. The conversation that follows is brutal in its practicality. She asks questions, and I answer them. Have you been physical with him? Yes. Do the children know? No. Are you leaving me for him? I don't know. This last answer seems to hurt her most, the indecision of it, the fact that I'm destroying everything and don't even have a plan. Sarah comes home from her friend's house in the middle of it. She takes one look at us, at her mother's tear-stained face, at me sitting on the bed like a condemned man, and knows something catastrophic has happened. Evelyn tells her to give us a minute, but Sarah, 17 and too smart for her own good, doesn't move. Are you getting divorced? She asks. Evelyn looks at me, waiting. This is mine to answer, my confession to make. We're figuring some things out, I say, the coward's response. Sarah's face hardens. She looks so much like her mother in that moment, the same way of holding pain inside, transforming it into something sharp and practical. The next days are a special kind of hell. Evelyn moves into the guest room. We tell the children we're having some difficulties, need some space. All the euphemisms that fool no one. David drives up from college, sits at the kitchen table looking between us like he's trying to figure out which one of us had the affair. Which one of us broke this? I meet Julian at his apartment to tell him what's happened. He opens the door, sees my face, and knows immediately. He pulls me inside, holds me while I shake. I'm not crying. Exactly, just coming apart at the molecular level. Everything I've built, everything I've protected, is collapsing, and I don't know how to exist in the rubble. I tell him about Evelyn's questions, about the look on Sarah's face, about how David won't return my calls now. He listens without interrupting, his hand on my back, steady and sure. When I finish, he asks what I want to do. I want to stop lying, I tell him. I want to stop pretending. I love you. I've always loved you. Even when I was trying not to, even when I married her, even when I was pushing you away. It's always been you. He's quiet for a long time. Then he says, love isn't enough, though, is it? Not at our age. Not with all this damage. You have children who hate you right now. You have a wife who deserves better than what you gave her. You have a whole life to dismantle. And I have my own life, Nathaniel. I'm not 20 anymore, waiting for you to choose me. I already grieved losing you once. I'm not sure I can do it again when you realize what this actually costs. He's right, of course. Love at 48 isn't the same as love at 20. It comes with mortgages and custody arrangements and the kind of emotional scar tissue that never fully heals. It comes with the knowledge that choosing happiness means destroying other people's happiness. It comes with consequences that ripple out in ways you can't predict or control. But I also know that not choosing, continuing to live in the space between what I am and what I pretend to be, is no longer possible. The door has been opened. The truth has been spoken. There's no going back to the performance, no matter how much simpler it would be. I kiss him then, desperate and messy, tasting salt though I'm not sure which of us is crying. He kisses me back, but I can feel his hesitation, his fear. We've switched positions from 30 years ago. Now I'm the one ready to leap, and he's the one who understands what falling means. I go home to a dark house. Evelyn has taken Sarah to her sister's. The silence is complete, devastating. I sit at the kitchen table where we've shared thousands of meals, where we've made plans and paid bills, and built a life that looks perfect from the outside. Tomorrow there will be lawyers. Tomorrow there will be decisions about who keeps the house, who gets which holidays with the kids, how to divide 23 years of accumulated existence. But tonight, there's just me and the truth, finally spoken, finally acknowledged. The man I've been pretending to be is dead. I don't know yet who I'll become, but for the first time in decades, I'm ready to find out. 6 months later, I sit at my kitchen table as autumn light filters through windows I need to clean. The house is different now. Smaller. A 2-bedroom apartment in the city, close enough to Julian's place that we can see each other without planning our lives around it. Far enough that we're not rushing into something we're still figuring out how to be. The divorce was finalized last month. Evelyn got the house, which was right. She's the one who made it a home, even if I could never fully inhabit it with her. Sarah still isn't speaking to me, though she cashed the check I sent for her college applications. David calls occasionally, short conversations full of things we don't say. He asks if I'm happy now. I tell him I'm trying to be honest now. There's a difference, though maybe someday they'll be the same thing. I'm dealing cards on this secondhand table I bought at an estate sale. The deck is the same one, soft and worn, that's traveled with me through decades. I spread them out, shuffle, deal 2 hands. One for me, one for the empty chair across from me. It's become a meditation of sorts, this ritual. A way of sitting with everything that's happened, everything that's changing. 2 rings lie beside the cards. My wedding band, which I removed for the last time the day I signed the papers. And another ring, tarnished silver, bought from a street vendor in Boston when Julian and I were 21. He'd slipped it on my finger as a joke, called it a promise ring, laughed at how serious I got about it. I kept it hidden in a drawer for 28 years. Now it sits in the light, honest as everything else I'm trying to be. Julian comes by most evenings after school. We're taking it slow, strange as that sounds for 2 men pushing 50 who've loved each other since we were 19. But we're different people now. He's cautious where he was once fearless. I'm learning to be open where I once locked everything away. We're not trying to recapture what we were. We're discovering what we might become. Some nights we play cards for real, the coffee table between us, conversation flowing like it always did. Other nights we just exist in the same space, him grading papers while I read, domestic in a way that feels both foreign and exactly right. He stays over sometimes, but not always. We're both afraid, I think, of rushing toward something just because we waited so long for it. The hardest part isn't what I lost. It's understanding what I took from others. Evelyn sent me a letter last week, pages of controlled handwriting that laid out the depth of betrayal she feels. Not just the affair, but the decades of deception. She wrote that she's in therapy now, trying to understand how she missed it, trying to reclaim her own story from the fiction I made her live inside. She wrote that she doesn't forgive me, might never forgive me, but that she's grateful in a twisted way. At least now she knows why she always felt like she was failing at something she couldn't name. I'm in therapy too, twice a week, sitting across from a woman who doesn't let me hide behind the articulate explanations I've perfected. She makes me sit with the damage I've caused, the pain I've inflicted in service of my own cowardice. She also makes me examine the violence I did to myself, the slow suffocation of living as someone I wasn't. Both truths exist simultaneously. I was victim and perpetrator, prisoner and guard. The afternoon light shifts, and I hear footsteps on the stairs. Julian, earlier than usual. He has a key now, a small gesture that felt enormous when I gave it to him. He enters with his teacher's bag slung over his shoulder, looking tired but smiling when he sees me. "Dealing yourself in?" he asks, gesturing at the cards. "Just thinking," I tell him. He sets down his bag, walks over, kisses me hello. Such a simple thing, but I'm still learning to receive it without flinching, without looking over my shoulder, without calculating who might see. He sits in the empty chair, picks up the hand I dealt there. One more game, he says, and there's weight to it, but also lightness. It's become our phrase for trying again, for choosing each other despite everything, for believing that maybe this time we'll get it right. I look at him across the table, this man who knew me before I learned to lie to myself, who loved me through decades of absence, who's brave enough to try again despite the scar tissue we both carry. The future is uncertain. Sarah might never forgive me. David might always keep me at arm's length. I might never fully repair the damage I've caused. But I'm here, in this small apartment with terrible water pressure and windows that stick, playing cards with the love of my life. For the first time in my existence, the person I am and the person I show the world are the same. It's terrifying. It's lonely sometimes. It's also the most alive I've ever felt. I deal the cards. Julian arranges his hand, that familiar look of concentration on his face. Outside, the city continues its restless movement. Inside, we play cards at my kitchen table, two middle-aged men who are finally, imperfectly, learning how to be free. One more game. Always one more game. For as long as we're lucky enough to have them.